Hi, very good afternoon to you. It's Jim from maverickstar Observatory. Guys, I have really been looking forward to doing this video all weekend, and I'll tell you why. Just shortly after we thank those few people that are helping support the observatory at the moment. You know, we are probably now, well we are, there's no doubt about it, 6 months away from that theoretical 40 degrees, and you know, I don't think that now is a time to, you know, cut back on the study of what we've been doing here at the observatory now for 10 years as an official observatory for the last 5 years. I don't think it's a time now to pull back on the push forward to get more data received from out in the field by our superstars. You know, we've recently put Colombia on the map now. We're getting data from them. We've got data coming in every 3 or 4 months from Arizona. Kendall sends his data in every week. We've got Jeff down there in Perth that we get his data when we simply get his data. I'm going to have to give him a Skype in here. It's about time me and Jeff had a little catch up and see if he's got some data for us and some muon readings as well. Well, we're 6 months away. You can do the maths yourself. You can see on the measuring tool we're at 31.96 miles. And that is at an average speed of 5.1, 5.2 miles a month. It's an average of 6 months left to go, so not a lot of time. The reason why we've got the 40 degree mark there is because it's a theoretical mark. One of the interesting things that I'd come across when I was doing some experiments with magnets is like what we can see here, is that when a magnetic field in the vicinity of a compass comes close to those weak field lines, which is what our 40 degree mark represents. It's that barrier of 40 degrees. It's where the strong field lines that enables a slow migrating magnetic north pole to cross the territory into the weak field lines, and as you can see from the experiment, we get a rapid acceleration. Now this has confused a lot of people because they're saying you've got two magnets here rotating, Gene, and it's not. Don't look at the compass as a magnet. Look at the compass as just an indicator, so that what we can see when the magnet goes into the 40 degree region, what happens to the compass needle. That's what we would class, once it goes past the 40 degree, as a full-on reversal. Now this is all new stuff. You know, if we go back to an excursion, the last one 12,000 years ago, we don't know how long, once it surpassed, if it does surpass the 40 degree mark and accelerates up, we don't know how long it will take to make a completed reversal. I'm guessing it's not going to be a very fast process, because we have been travelling to this point in time for the last 120 years through the strong field lines, and we're only just about to pass into those weak field lines where we get a rapider movement. But that don't mean that we could be looking at some treacherous things coming along our way, because in the last 25 years our magnetosphere has been weakening, and if we just anticipate what happens when it goes past 40 degrees, it weakens much rapider. Now in the last 25 years, if you've been on this planet and gone round the sun as many times as I have, like nearly 49, 50 times, you'll know that it's only been in the last 25 years of real noticeable climatic changes. And we know now why that is. It's because there is extra cosmic radiation in the upper atmosphere mixing with the jet streams, and as a direct result it allows them therefore to put more water into the jet stream as cosmic rays form cloud seeding platforms, and something for condensate to condense on, and therefore we get more water in the jet stream. That's why your jet stream starts to go wider, and that is why your jet stream starts to break down, because the jet streams are in some way being regulated by a couple of things. One of those by the amount of now the cosmic rays increasing in them and producing more water. What we're seeing as a result of this is what's causing all these devastating floods all around the world, and displacing now tens of millions of people. Every single week there is a catastrophic event taking place. People have in some respects, got used to hearing about them and pay very little attention to them. You know, which is it's sad, because you know it's taking really, you know, the severeness of the event away from the actual event. You know, Florida, we saw you know, tens of millions, billions of pounds worth of damage estimated. God knows what sort of damage has been caused in the last 6 months in China, Afghanistan, India, Europe, the UK, you name it. You know, and Canada. Remember, not so long ago, we had that railroad washed away, the motorway washed away. You know, this is gearing up. This is not events that are slowing down. I always talk about this as, you know, the equilibrium point. You know, because we've not got to the point where we've gone through the first stage or the second stage of the reversal. We've only gone through the first, which is travelling through those strong field lines. Now we are 6 months away from hitting that 40-degree mark. You can see what happens on that compass. As we get closer to the 40 degrees, once we go past it or get close to it, it starts to accelerate and then flick over to close to the South Pole. And I want to just bring to your attention something we shouldn't be so complacent about. The fact that we have saw a very small, well, albeit 20% or thereabouts, increase in the speed in the magnetic pole migration in the last 10 months. So as the experiment shows, as it gets closer and closer, it gets quicker and quicker, and then boom, as it goes past 40 degrees, it flips. So what we're seeing in real life is something very close to that. Now, you're going to ask the question, I know in the next video you're going to be asking this question, or I'll be answering it for you. What are we going to expect? I can just give you a brief on what we can expect. Increased cosmic rays in the upper atmosphere, not just because our Earth is going through a magnetic pole reversal. In large, it is that because that is our primary defense against cosmic rays, but also we have the grand solar minimum, don't we? And you know, despite what people say and what part of the solar cycle we're in right now, if you ask me, and I can show you NASA videos where they are explaining these things, those sunspots are all over the place, and it is anybody's guess where we are in a given solar cycle. Something has dramatically gone wrong with our sun. For the last 30 years, the sunspots have been reducing. There's our heliosphere, our protection that protects the whole of our solar system from inbound galactic cosmic radiation. And then we've got this pole shift on the cards as well, and we are 6 months away from hitting that 40 degrees mark. So with all the other things that are going on in this world, you know, we are not out the woods. We have not reached equilibrium, and there is a lot worse to come, sadly to say. But you can help yourselves. You can help yourselves by making some preparations. You might not be able to do anything about the increased inbound radiation, which is carcinogenic. You might not be able to do anything about the fact that the increased radiation can affect your cardiac arrhythmias. And it's not just human beings, it's every species on this planet, and that includes vegetative species like trees, bushes, shrubs, plants, things like that. Nothing it will avoid, you know, the increase when it comes down to inbound radiation. Nothing will avoid the fact that it can cause cancers in trees just as much as it can in any other plants, and including any other animals, and you know, ourselves. So you know, there we are. Just before I want to end this video, I just want to say that that magnet is just representing the core. That's whatever's making our magnetic poles reverse. The magnet on that motor is what's causing that. That's the analogy we're using. The compass is just to show you the field and where it is in the field with conjunction with the strong and weak field lines. So I'm hoping that, you know, the more times I do show this and explain it, you know, it becomes more clear. Now, it is a theory. I've got to say this. because nobody knows exactly what is inside our core of the Earth that makes it go through these reversals. Nobody knows what generates the magnetic field, and it's never been recreated in any laboratory on this planet. So the reason why I have to give a disclaimer here is because it is, a theory, but it's fitting this theory. What's taking place with our Earth is fitting this theory in more than one way. But you've got to admit, a strange anomaly taking place when that magnet comes close to those strong and weak field lines. And the reason for that is because it is able to migrate through the weaker field lines than it is through the stronger field lines. And there should be no reason why our Earth would not respond in the exact same way. Secondly, like I said, over the last 10 months we've seen a slight increase in the speed of the migration over the northern hemisphere. Now, I've heard people say that these poles are racing to get towards each other, and they're going to meet somewhere, and that is not going to happen, because the only way that could ever happen, these two poles on our planet hitting each other, is if there was actually 4 poles and not 2. Now, these poles don't behave like monopoles. If we've got 2 poles bending towards each other, at some point they will develop into 4 poles. Now, I've said this before, we do have over our northern hemisphere 2 poles, over the southern hemisphere 2 poles. So these poles are not going to come together and stay with each other, and that's going to be where the new poles are. In fact, we really studied those the data from NOAA and NASA, and we can see it pulling back from Australia just slightly, for whatever reason that is. So they are not rushing towards each other like a few people are saying on YouTube. It's not the case. If you examine the data and look at the the videos that NASA are showing us, you will see that they are just starting to pull away from Australia. So it's no longer heading like it was. I'm not saying it could still go to Australia, but at this point in time it is just pulling back just slightly, the South Pole. We don't talk about the South Pole a lot, and that's because although it has left the peninsula of Antarctica, it hasn't really travelled in terms of distance as much as what the North Pole has on our planet. So that's why we have concentrated largely on the North Pole. Not only that, the Trimag system is based over the northern hemisphere of our planet. So if we was going to do a Trimag for the southern hemisphere, we'd have to be, I believe, somewhere around 60 degrees, 50 degrees south of the equator, somewhere in the southern hemisphere. So guys, I'm just going to pull out, I'll get rid of this video that we've been watching, and I'll get rid of the ruler, because I just want to show you where we are in terms of over the northern hemisphere right now with the poles. So I'm just going to zoom out, and I'm going to stop the video here because I know that the video runs faster sometimes than the audio, but if I restart the video, at least it will be in sync with what we're talking. So I'll do that. So here we are. You can see where we measured it on the 17th of last month. We're about 10 days away from measuring it again with the Trimag system, getting a pinpoint location just to make sure that we are still travelling at 5.1, 5.2 miles in the direction of that 40-degree mark. We're over the northern hemisphere, obviously, because we're looking at the magnetic North Pole, but we are actually over the territory, or just about to soon leave the territory of the North Mid-Atlantic Ridge, as you can see. And this is just the progression of the corridor of that yellow line and white line where we have been migrating from since the 1900s, and you can see it stems right back over there into Canada. I want to show you where it's heading. Once we pass that 40 degrees, if it starts to accelerate, this is going to be the new North Pole position. I'll just quickly zoom in on that for you. And we know this because we've been looking at the intensity charts supplied by NOAA, and we can see that this is in the epicenter of the strongest intensity over Russia right now, and it will be in the epicenter where the magnetic North Pole will arrive at some point. We know that. It's tracking nicely through that corridor that we just showed you. So we know it's on course. It hasn't really deviated. It's easterly migration since the 1900s. It's always kept, and you can see it's kept a narrow band in that corridor as well. So that's where it's going to be heading. And you know, once we pass that 40-degree mark, we might see, you know, more serious climatic events take place around our world. Now, if you're new to me, you're going to say, well, you know, isn't the narrative supposed to be CO2 driving climate? Well, you know, I've got plenty of videos on this channel which cover that very fact, and you're welcome to, you know, go and knock yourself out in there. You know, we are in the understanding now that CO2 has absolutely zero to do with the climate change. There's no way, think about it logically, there's no way that anything made of 0.4%, and that man's contributions, that 0.4%, 0.0012%, is going to change anything in our atmospheric composition, and for that reason not even going to change anything with our climate on our planet. You know, if these people that were pushing for these billions and billions of pounds to be raised instead of CO2, and for the next glacial period that we are entering as well, on top of all this, gladly support them themselves. You know, human continuity is on the line here, and maybe for more than one reason. Could be the fact that, you know, we don't know. It's 12,000 years ago is when we started to flourish on this earth. You know, we came out of the glacial period at that same time. You know, we are 6,000 to 8,000 years going back into the new Milankovitch cycle, which sends us directly back into that glacial period. So we don't know if we're going to pass a thermocline. We don't know if the magnetic poles are going to accelerate that entry into that new thermocline where the Earth could rapidly drop. But I'll just say this. Go on to Pole Shift News, have a look at the sea ice extent, and have a look what's happened in the last 10 years. Sea ice has been rebounding. Over 2 million square kilometres has rebounded back over the northern hemisphere, over the Arctic. And mainstream media have said zero about it. They haven't mentioned the returning of the glacial periods, and they barely mention, if we're lucky, the magnetic North Poles. They don't talk about the last 3 of our solar cycles, you know, reducing exponentially. What the hell is going on, first of all, with the mainstream media informing people correctly, and what's happened to these scientists that are studying these things? Why are they not coming out and talking about these events? These are very serious and wildly changing events that are taking place on our Earth, and it doesn't seem that many people are even bothered about it. You know, what we've tried to do, and we have, you know, is helped a lot of people, you know, get in there with the preps early, you know, get some awareness of what's going on, try to educate them as best of what we could here at the observatory, showing them the data that we collect from several places now around the world. We are the only YouTube channel with an observatory, with equipment, and, you know, we were in, like I said now, Colombia, Arizona, Canada, Australia, here in the UK. That's the efforts that we've gone to here to inform people. So if you want to help support us, the link is down there, guys. And I know that times are tough, but I can tell you this, they're not going to get any better. But if you're a strong believer in, you know, what we've done here as a service to, you know, humanity, then maybe you might want to, you know, buy us a beer, or, you know, chuck in a few bucks to keep the observatory doing what it's doing. 6 months is all we got left before we pass that 40 degrees mark. Just 6 months. Guys, as always, bye for now.